confirm that. If that looks good on my end, all looks great in the world. And hopefully we're back. It's been a long week without everybody.
It's a black screen right now. Oh, there you are. Now I see you.
There we go.
I'm not there though. Give it a second.
You're not there? Oh man, what? How can that be? All right, really?
See if you can add me now to Zoom.
Well, you're in my Zoom. I'm looking at you in such a great topic. Why? Let me see. Yes, see, now when I look at what I should be seeing, what you're seeing, I see you. Hey, can somebody who's watching please tell us if you see Tom? Because I see Tom on my Facebook.
Okay. Okay, ignore me. I'm looking at your testing your page. One you tried the other day. Okay. I'm old, everybody. Okay, you go do your introductions. I'll get us up and running here.
Okay, so everybody, glad that you're here. I am Michelle. I am thrilled to be here with you today. I have my cohort over there right beside me on this side of the screen from what I can see. That is Big Brother Tom. You can call him Big Brother Tom if you want. And but he is my older, bolder brother, and I'm thrilled to have him with us here today. And our topic is so very fitting because we have been dealing with adversity. So that is absolutely fabulous. And Tom, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Excellent. We missed you last week. You got a couple of videos of 4 or 5 seconds or me talking to Michelle. She's on my computer, but not on our phone. So it was weird, but we're glad that we get to talk to you today.
We managed. Yeah, exactly. And Tom, when you see some names come on, I would like you to share with me who's on. I did do an invite, if I did it correctly, that as you're joining on, please share your name, say hello, because sometimes we get chatting and we would like to acknowledge everybody, but sometimes you're just too quick for us.
Callie, Linda Marie, Deborah, and Carmel.
Oh, Carmel. Excellent.
Oh, Carmel, sorry.
Okay, you guys, this is so great. Hold on. You ready? Hold on, Tom, you're going to love this. Okay, here we go, everybody. I got my ring. Romper, bumper, stomper, boo. Tell me, do. Magic mirror, tell me today. Have all my friends had fun at play? I see Tom and I see Callie. I see Linda, I see Deborah, and I see Caramel. So if in your youth you ever felt left out and ignored by Miss whatever her name was from Romper Room, we've just covered you. Your names were called.
So was that like a racket with no strings in it? What is that?
I had a member make this for me. My member Wendy, for my Zoom meetings, as you know, I have pom-poms as well. I also have signage that says have a good week, you can do it, and then my Romper Room ring. You can be jealous. You can make.
So are you like the new 2024 version of Mr. Dress Up?
Oh, probably pretty much. I love Mr. I just watched his life story. I love Mr. Dress Up. And fun fact, I saw him with his tickle trunk when I was, I don't know, 10, not too old that it was weird, but he came to a local high school here, Skits. My people will know that one. And he brought his tickle trunk, and it was Casey and Finnegan were not available. They were already somewhere else. But he came, and it was that memorable that here 50 years later, I still remember. It was a highlight of my young life, Mr. Dress Up.
I think today you wouldn't be able to say you have a tickle trunk. That'd be like awkward. Weird. But we understand. So here's another one, just little questions back and forth. Friendly Giant, what was his side puppet? What was the puppet's name?
I don't know. But
Casey,
what was it?
Casey, Casey,
Casey?
Casey. Had a
Okay.
weird voice, had little rouges on. So I'm a little bit older than you.
Mr. Dress Up side person. Casey and Finnegan. That was the dog and the
Okay, so
boy.
who was Friendly Giant? Oh my word, I have to look at
Was that Giraffe?
one of them.
Giraffe.
And then who remembers HR Huff and Stuff, Huff and Puff?
I remember the name, but
it was just like a creepy dinosaurs. It was almost like the early version of Barney, but different, but same thing. But it was pretty interesting. But okay, you have questions for me.
I do. I know. I've been going through withdrawals. Okay, so I got 3 in a row right here. Pudding or Jello?
What?
Pudding or Jello?
I thought you were speaking like Italian. Pudding and Jello.
Oh, if I use my fingers.
See, I don't eat either of them lots. I like Jello because I think it's less unhealthy for me.
Yeah.
But a pudding, I can live with a good pudding. But here's the thing: buying a store-bought pudding, I'm a chef, so it's unfair. Making pudding,
sure,
or buying a store-bought, it's like anything, like making it from fresh. But pudding would be my weakness on ice cream.
Pudding on ice cream? I've never done that, but I would go with pudding over Jello as well. Absolutely. Okay. Wings or ribs?
Ooh, oh. That is hard. I don't think I can give you one. Like, I like pork and chicken. If it's beef riblets, so here I'm going to add a sidebar question. With wings or ribs, do you like it saucy or dry?
Probably dry for me.
So yeah, salt and pepper wings, love it.
Yeah.
And a nice dry rub rib, love it.
Yeah, I lean towards the rib myself.
Okay.
Then the last one for today, almonds or peanuts?
I don't eat both anymore, but almonds, I just think almonds, no, I'm lying. If I was to eat them by themselves, I'd rather eat a handful of peanuts.
Yeah, planter salted peanuts for the win.
Peanuts. But I'm not sure if I want the salt or the peanut.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's like you know how they go around and I don't like almonds. They go around and they sell chocolate covered almonds.
Yeah.
I love the chocolate, so I'll buy them because I feel good. I'm giving back, and I'll suck all the chocolate off them, and I spit out the almonds. Nobody wants them after I've taken the chocolate off, so I gotta waste them.
You don't show anybody. You wash them a little bit and you put them in a bag in the cupboard.
Right? Gift them. That's regifting.
There you go.
So anybody coming to my house, if you see a bowl of almonds.
So we will get to our topic. So here's on a final note. Have you heard of a Jelly Belly? It came out of the movie Harry Potter called Bernie's Beets.
No.
I'm going to try sending a link. So this product, in our town, we have an old English shop, sells a whole bunch of English food and that. So these came out of the Harry Potter movies, earlier Harry Potter movies, right? And so what they were Jelly Bellies, but they were weird flavors. So there would be dirt, grass.
Oh, gross ones.
Vomit.
I've heard of these.
It's from a game, right? So the funny story is, a friend of mine years ago, his 2 boys, they'd eat anything. They'd eat your almonds, just telling you, right? So me being silly, I put a bowl of these out. And I had tricked my daughter and my wife I said, look at this one that's tutti frutti, because it was white and speckled. It was vomit. So I put them out and these kids ate them by the handful. They couldn't even tell the difference. They just wanted sugar.
Wow.
But here's what's on the package. Go look it up. Find it where to look it up. On the package, it says some of the products use natural flavors.
Oh.
So are you going, is it the grass or the dirt natural, or is it the vomit? Oh, they have snot. They have snot too.
Oh, yeah, that's enticing. I wouldn't even participate in the game. I'd be like,
But
yeah, no, I'll be the scorekeeper.
but you would trick Alan
In
and your boy,
a second, in a
because you would,
heartbeat.
and you'd put the almonds with them.
Ah, there you go. Well, you're right. And we are not. Al, my partner, loves to scare people. And then now he's got the granddaughters doing it. Xavier, not too much. I scare easy. So I got Target written all over me. So any opportunity I have to get back at that guy, I am all over it. Absolutely.
I've done some, I've tried to, like, I'm a bit of a jokester, and Michelle knows when one of the first times first time we got together, we met in Toronto. We'll tell the story another time, but we met our baby brother, Jimmy,
Yes.
and we're jokers. It's probably in our DNA a little bit, right?
I think so. Absolutely. We're so
But I was going to say, with that, in all the things, and when we talk about adversity and different things, a lot of things we've talked about, there's something about breathing and like, there's lots of troubles in this world, and at the end of the day, they come and go in our lives, but it's how we mentally or physically try to deal with it.
that's right.
But this is something Michelle's really good at, and for the people that know Michelle would say this: encouraging people in the midst of trouble, be lighthearted, have fun. Michelle shared a show a while ago about how studies have showed, like, even in hospitals, that, like, even the children's hospital here, they'll bring in like the hockey players and they'll
Yeah,
do fun. There's something in that mental attitude that helps us physically,
that's right.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's so many things, and I think that's such an important thing, especially with the climate of everything going on right now. There's so
Yeah,
many things we can't control. You got to rein it in and focus
yeah,
on the things that you can. Be like Frozen, let it
yeah,
go, right? And
yeah,
just tunnel vision to what makes you feel good and what's within your surroundings. Really, I can control everything I can reach, and that's
yeah,
pretty much it, right?
yeah. And I was going to tease until we can't. We had I
Right.
don't know if it's happening out east. Somebody told me this the other day, and I think I heard about it. Is London Drugs, or I think it was London Drugs, not Shoppers, where first of all, they had a blackout for 2 days. It might have been out west. So all this, no, it wasn't a blackout. All their technology interfacing
Mm,
kills, and that shut down. And they don't know it was a cyber attack or whatever, right?
right. I
But
heard that. Yeah.
yeah. So I think Loblaws was going on strike and stuff. But it's funny because there's things that we think we control, like the
Mm,
light switch in our home,
yeah.
but all of a sudden somebody hits a pole
Yeah.
and you pay for that energy, it's gone. And you're like, hey, I paid for this. You got to deduct that off my bill.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. You sound like Alec now.
There
Um,
you go.
that's funny. And it's so true. It's interesting for those of us that grew up without technology for, a portion of our life that we remember. When something happens like that, like where I live in the Mitten Village area, we seem to get a transmitter knocked down quite a bit or something like that. And in that moment, years ago, 30 years ago, I would have had no problem thinking of something to do. But right away, we're so reliant on technology, TV to amuse us, all that other stuff. And I don't usually have data because I'm pretty frugal and I don't always want to be found. So that that being said, in that moment, I'm like, snap, what do I do? I got to reteach myself how to play solitaire. Like as as the only girl in the family I grew up in, so I was the youngest, I was adopted, I was the only girl. Those are three really awesome things, right? As far as having some power in the home, if you will, being a little bossy clogs that I was. But I also had to figure out how to amuse myself. There's also a lot of like almost only child things there. So I think as you learn all that as a youth, you learn how to amuse yourself. I don't know about the kids today. I'm saying us. And then now fast forward to today, really rethinking those skills, like because being used to, and it's funny because my tablet's gone for a crap. It's just outdated. So I don't really have that anymore. And then my phone seems to run out of battery quick. I'm finding myself without devices within arm's reach, which is wonderful, but I have to recheck myself and be like, really, Michelle, do you need to check your Facebook every 7 minutes? You probably do not, right? Like, and same as in the group I just had, we were just talking about putting your device away while you're eating a meal,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's important as well, just cutting off yourself from technology.
See, I think we feel like, and this is probably, we'll be talking about this for years. You got to put into the mix personality types,
Oh, yeah.
because so there's some people going, I don't want to miss anything. I need alerts, 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 alerts.
Yeah.
And even though, a lot of the news and stuff is stressful, I mean, it's proven, right?
Yeah.
But so depending where you're at, I was telling my friend here, I have a good friend here, at some point down the road, probably going to interview him. He owns a fitness. He's a trainer. He trains people, but also has worked through some mental health stuff. So he's visiting me for a while. He's in a different room, but we were talking about, because he owns two businesses, but we're talking about in this world there's so much noise, and he says I need to find a place where I can just silence.
Yeah.
And you can laugh, even the buzzing of the lights.
Yes.
Even so, for me, in the sense of, I don't know, would be I in my room at night, I have a fan on.
Yeah.
And as much as I need air movement, like close to me, the window, if there's no wind, the window doesn't help.
Right.
I also need that sound,
right.
the white noise, right?
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It's interesting, because I bet you in the 40s, 50s, 60s you didn't have it. Sidebar, when you were talking about generational stuff, who here played a game called Kick the Can? Did you play that, Michelle?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it wasn't just a poor kid's game. You got a can of Campbell's tomato soup that mom was finished with, rinse it out, take the wrapping, and you went on the street and played it. And you were talking about the iPad. Like, not that technology is bad, but we find ourselves dependent on it.
That's right.
Like, if you sit at my desk here, that's my world.
Oh.
But I take breaks.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
We have a couple more. We have Angela and Sandra.
Hello, Angela and Sandra. Very good. Glad you're here. It's interesting too, when you think about, not only are we reliant on it, those algorithms, they're so, like, it's so interesting. I could say to you, hey, did you see whatever? You didn't see it because my social media looks completely different, because I'm paying attention to different things and it's not feeding me options outside the box. Right. So that's a really real thing as well. That, again, good to disconnect from. Get back to basics.
And the whole, this will be probably another topic down the road. We can make a note of it, is the whole AI world. So part of the algorithms was the beginning of that, but all of a sudden now, where, like, I was trying to talk with this online website people that I kind of do a bit of dealing with.
People.
They have their chat bot.
Yeah.
And they said, can you type in what you want? I said, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's in this category. Yes. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We don't understand you. Can you repeat it? Blah, blah, blah. And then you go to look on their website to find any other contact, even an email. Even an email, I'm going bonkers.
Yep. Brutal.
Right. Yep. So, and the other thing I tell people too, so a few different things. We've got a group of you. Thank you for joining us. When you see me looking down here, I do make notes of the way my brain's wired. Is Michelle will say something, because this isn't rehearsed. This is just us being us with our experience and with some of the things that we learned, right? So Michelle said something and it triggers me, and probably vice versa. But so we're not like disconnected. But let's talk about walking through adversity.
Yeah, I love that idea. And just to add on to what you just said, this is the way it goes with me and Tom. He messages me a couple days after Wednesday. Hey, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Or I have an answer, and then we agree, and then we talk at like 2 minutes to 8. When he says, are you ready? I said, yeah. So completely off the cuff. And I'm quite amazed, after like 10 or 12, however long it's been, we haven't banged heads, if you would. That's probably not the term, but like we're pretty bang on with everything, which is amazing. I love it.
So here's the word. So I'm in business. I'm a manager, a territory manager for a large company, and then I do some other stuff on the side, right? So one of the words, it's not been around for years, synergy. So we have synergy.
Oh, synergy.
And,
yeah.
And what Michelle and I agreed upon, and I'm not going to go into a long story about it, not important, right? But what we agreed upon is we kind of said in sharing this here, because we want this to be a wide base. So we're talking about mental wellness, right?
Yeah.
We may share some of our stories and different things, but we're doing our best not to be political.
Absolutely.
And we may have some convictions, and we're doing our best to not be religious. And there could be people here that have different faiths or no faith and all that. So we really we don't want to pigeonhole anybody.
You're right.
And honestly, in the group here, and this is a closed group, we can add people. I'm adding my friend who's here.
Yeah, good.
But you can add people, but we want it to be safe, and we want you guys to be able to me and Michelle would like to be more involved, ask questions.
Share.
There's things that happen. So, I mean, that's our goal. Yeah. Me and Michelle could talk to each other on FaceTime by ourselves.
Sure.
But when we decided to do this, we had a goal. So last week, which we didn't do, I brought up walking through adversity.
Yes.
And that's how me and Michelle do. We kind of go week by week and figure out, like Michelle we'll do next week. And she'll go, what do you think of this? And, oh, that sounds good, right? Or we'll discuss, right? So when I brought up walking through adversity, what did that make you think of?
Real life challenges, and that we're survivors, not victims. That's what it made me think of.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So throw out I'm refreshing the Facebook page here. The group.
Don't feel bad that you're looking the other way.
Kendra. Thank you, Kendra, for joining us.
Oh, Kendra. Yay. Kendra and I grew up together. Everybody. Great. Let's not be crazy. It's
yeah. So what Michelle said, so we're going to be talking about walking through adversity. And the thing is, there's multitude of ways. And actually what it's about, one of the things I wrote down is, and Michelle's mentioned this a few times, like we might not have control of even like say our physical health and things, but we have a control on our outlook, right? And even if you're in pain or anxiety or depression and things, and trust me, like we hope that we and you guys, we have people around us that will journey with us, not just try to give us the blue pill from the Matrix, right? Blue or red, whatever, right? So this idea of walking through adversity, it's not a Tony. Well, it's not like walking through adversity for dummies, and we're going to give you 10 steps to do, because that doesn't make sense, right? Even though we could write that book.
We could. Well, and I love that you said that, because we've done it all along. I think this is that perspective thing again, is that we've done it all along. Like when you think about, like, especially as you get older, like if your life is a big book and they're all different chapters, we've got the job, we've lost the job, we have current relationships. Like I have 2 exes. So I've walked through adversity as those big life changes were happening, right? Different places you worked at, whether it was your own doing that you lost the job, with like the plant closed, or it just wasn't a right fit, like whatever that is, it's like everything's a big roller coaster ride. And I think reflection is such a powerful tool to help inspire you to keep walking forward.
100%. And here's the thing, right? So again, I'm making these little notes, and I love just being honest. Like I truly am intrigued the way we're wired. And the thing is I wrote down, what do you have power over? And so, Michelle, that may be another whole day, right? But when I went through colon cancer several years ago, I think it's going on 8 years now, 8 years October, and the journey that I went on, and like I had like one of the worst situations. They removed several organs, large intestine, all this stuff. I was bedridden for about 8 months. Nurses came in every day to take care of my wounds, and I was depressed, and I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. Right. And part of my mind being oppressed and my emotions were just exhausted is because the trauma in my body had
Yeah.
and you know, it all of a sudden it just gives out, right? It's like a power overload thing, right?
Right.
And so, but here's the thing I was going to say, and I'm going to give not a quote, but something an indigenous chief told me years ago, which I love. It was, I don't know if it's all indigenous tribes, but it was a tribe from out here. But when I look back now, today, 8 years later, and I'm way better, in the midst of my depression, horrid depression, I just want to stay in my room, and I slid into our bathroom. My wife brought me food, and she was great. She was burnt out, not because she didn't care. The weight, and this will another conversation. The weight of caring for those you love.
Oh, I know it.
And even so, the person who's sick, who's dealing with that, and the person who's working through the person who's sick, it's different dichotomy, but they're both in stress and there's weight and trauma, right? And so this is what the indigenous chief said to me. He's passed away, it was years ago. And again, he was saying, like, it goes in our culture, you have to look back in order to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not navel gazing, oh, like I suck or whatever. As I get older, in my 60s, as I get older, this helps me for the next season of troubles if that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I look back now and I can see that it's like climbing a mountain, and it's hard, it sucks, and it's draining you, and you're, I don't know, whatever. I don't climb mountains, by the way. But you hit a plateau and you stop, and then you look back over the valley, you go, oh my word, what a view. There's something about the view, like we don't have that in the midst of our struggle, our trauma.
Right.
And it's actually okay. That's why you want people around you that will have enough support, energy, encouragement, whatever, to be there through that. Right. And being honest in this world, that's a hard thing. And me, Michelle, I think I've mentioned this a couple of times in this, like, why we're doing this, by the way, the people that need this type of support with mental wellness, they can't afford the $250 therapist, right? A lot of people, Michelle's friends that are here, do WW or different kind of components Michelle does, and then people that I kind of work with in counseling, and you have this class, and they're talking it's going to be more anxiety and stress with all the prices going up, all the stuff. But the ones who really need support, they don't have the opportunity for support. Like, I have friends that can't afford a $250 an hour therapist.
Well, and sometimes you can't justify, like, even if I could afford it, I don't know if I'd pay, you know what I mean? Like, you qualify the value of the expense.
You're frugal, my sister. You're frugal.
I am the first one to admit it. I wear many hats. One is frugal.
And that's not a bad thing, right? So one of the things I've been saying to myself is, like, if I need to look in the mirror, and if I don't like or love who I am, you don't have to love who we are because you're perfect. We live in a cosmetic world where, oh, I got a wrinkle and all that. And if some of the ladies in the chat, I apologize, I'm not downplaying it, but we need to look in the mirror, but look past the mirror and look intrinsically, right? That's right. And we have value and we're important. And when we wrestle through things, we need to develop community to walk through it with us. And we don't maybe need to pay a $250 therapist, but now, like, I don't know how much is gas out there, Michelle?
I think about 171, I feel like, is the number last time we put gas in. I let Robert do that a lot of times. I give him money, he puts the gas in. So
our gas right now in Chilliwack is $2.12. And they say in the summer it's going to go back to $2.50.
Oh, terrible.
I'm on the road. I sometimes drive a couple hundred kilometers a day.
Yeah. So,
but that pressure out here, and we're going to talk about overcoming adversity, these are parts of it. Out here, they're saying, the stats saying, I think it's Canada-wide stats, that now I'm depressing us, so I apologize. We'll get to help stuff.
We'll pick
but they're saying right. one in three Canadians right now, because of a high interest debt, are consolidating.
Yeah.
Fun fact, if you need to look and go like my bills are overwhelming me,
Yeah.
actually message in the chat, I'll send you whatever. So I know 3 or 4 people now, and I've had to look at this, that had high interest stuff, but some of these debts now, you can include your Revenue Canada debt and you can include student loan debt.
Oh, that's new. Interesting.
Never happened before. And this company that I dealt with, that is supported, probably whatever, they're subsidized by the government, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing that's happening out here at West, and probably out there too, is people that bought mortgages 3 or 4 years ago and they're up for renewal. They bought them at 2.2. I know you don't own a house, but so yeah. I have a customer who walked away from his mortgage. 2.2, put down, East Indian family, put down $150,000 deposit. Yep. His wife is a part-time nurse, a young kid. He owned a little coffee shop. Yep. And their mortgage was 220, and it was affordable. Yep. That's actually, and he couldn't get a fixed mortgage. He was on a flexible mortgage. What do they call it? Yep. His mortgage, February is the last time I talked to him, because he sold the coffee shop. His mortgage went from 2,200 to 4,500.
Yeah. Yep. That it's happening all over, and it happened before. It happened, I think, in 2008. It's that cycle, right? I know it's a crying shame, and it's certainly not going to help people with their mental health. That's for sure. And again, it goes back to things that we can't control. So you do the best you can, and if you have to make some big decisions like that, I mean, you have to do the best you can. You can't feel bad because of your environment. And again, things out of our control. If I just want to circle back, if you don't mind, for a couple, so I also write things down. So a couple of things, when you were talking about the seeing yourself expecting perfection, it made me think of, we see flowers and we value those, but we don't critique them. Hey, look, all those petals aren't the same. Hey, look, it's got a broken, leaf or whatever. So that's interesting. The other thing it made me think of is, wouldn't life be boring if we didn't have any challenges?
This world is going to have troubles.
Like, how do you do those basics? I think that's part of the problem we have with the youth.
Learning. So again, I'm kind of a stat guy. I don't put all my eggs in that basket, but I like information. I'm curious. I love this. I love the way our brain works. I love the way things were done 50 years ago to now, right? I was telling somebody one of my childhood stories that I won't say on here, but I was born in 61. In the 70s, I was a hippie and I played guitar. So it was, back then it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Well, it was rock and roll and drugs, right? And so the concept, and you think of the free love, San Francisco, and all this stuff, phone booths and phone books that in Toronto were this thick, right? So technology, but even how fast things are and how evolving we are. At some point, so there's a stat about young people being stressed. My friend said this to me today. It was interesting. He said in the States, there's a stat about a majority of the Z's not going to college or university.
Oh, yeah.
The reason is affordability, but the reason is there were so many that went and got a degree, 2-year, whatever they did, right? And I don't know if they had debt, didn't matter, right? But there's so many that have a degree that are working in a restaurant or an Uber driver or get the dishes, right? Yep. So, and everybody knows this too, or most people know that a lot of our kids, even if they go to school or not, are living with us because they can't afford to rent. They can't afford to buy.
Or even if they can, it takes away their whole disposable income. Right? It cleans them out. I have two of I have one son upstairs. I have one son downstairs. They're both responsible. They both have full-time jobs. They both contribute to the home, and they could afford to live out of the home, but they'd have nothing else. Like one of them has an expensive dog and a Fast and Furious car. The other one's got child support. What do you do, right?
And on here, we've got a few more people. Thank you for coming, Ron, and some other people.
Hey, Ron.
And you know, I was going to say though, and I'm not going to say by name. So I have a sister here who's been watching the show, which I really appreciate. So I want you to know how much I appreciate you. And when I go to Ontario, and her, I laugh because we're very similar, and we were a blended family. She's, I don't know what the title, stepsister, but I have so much respect for her and her husband. And my sister, you know, not telling all the story. She went for very difficult and hardship and all that, and she worked her butt off to be where she's at now. And it's not about like, oh, I have a job and I make $5 an hour. Now I'm a CEO of a Bank of Canada. It's not, that's not about it, but it's about the journey. Our characters developed in the journey. Gwen said, so I'm not saying your last name is okay because this goes on YouTube. But Gwen said, I come to the realization that I'm always going to struggle. What matters is that you don't give up and you learn from it and keep going. That's
exactly. That's a pom-pom moment.
I knew you're going to grab a pom-pom. So the reason that we're trying to dialogue and talk through some of this stuff is, and here's how we all learn from each other. Because we may share something and somebody will go, I don't even understand what you're talking about, right? But that's okay, because we may get a tidbit. See, everybody here who watches this in the group chat, this is just reality. There's you could not even want this unless you're locked in a room and you never see a human being for the rest of your life. We all have a circle of influence. Right. And my experience in my 60s has shown me I have actually sometimes more influence than I realize. I have people come back and say, Tom, years ago, blah, blah, blah. And I go, do I know you? Because sometimes people aren't looking as much as what you say. They're looking, like, our actions speak louder. And you want to be perfect. We're not perfect. How we struggle, how we support, how we talk about kindness. Yeah. You know what I'm proud of the most of all of my siblings and family? And I'm sure everybody who's watched this too. But I know families that don't do this, but the love they have for their grandchildren, their children. And we're in different types of life to do that. Like what I like about social media, I know it could be a time waster and you scroll, but when I get to see the people I care about, friends or family, and I get to see into their lives that I would never be able to see them before. A written letter is not going to do it. Yeah. And it actually makes my heart warm. I see a brand new grandbaby. Yeah. Right? Exactly. So. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and the relationships, right? It totally helps with your relationships. And I think when you're sort of circling back again, when you're talking about you versus you, so if you can look at it, and we talk about this a lot in the other things I do, being in a cold state. So not when you're hot and emotional and, you know, you're all amped up. When you're just like calm in reflection, just looking at your successes and your struggles so that you're learning from them. Like, if I could repeat a certain incident, what would I carry forward? What would I not carry forward? What would I do differently? And then the other part of that is owning your shit, right? And we don't swear on here, but whatever, there's no better other way to explain it, because like in failed relationships, or whether it's a job, like, you have to take your own accountability. So, it's really easy to be the victim. It's way easier than being accountable, but owning it, and me owning it and saying, you know what, I had my part in these failed relationships. I had these parts, not as big as the other person's. No, just kidding. But I had my part, right? Things that I could have done differently, or, maybe I did more talking. I could have done some listening or whatever. Like, there's different dynamics. Maybe I was 18 and now I'm in like, it's a different perspective. I'm more mature. And then in the next relationship, I was a bit more mature, and now I'm super mature, or whatever that looks like, right? Or picking your battles. Yeah. It's very important in relationships. So I think having that kindness, but having that, being open to the fact I was never perfect, and don't expect me to be perfect, because it's never going to happen. All my friends on here know, never going to happen, but I don't strive for that. I really believe that is our purpose, like, besides procreating, is to listen and to learn and to grow and
to have the experiences, right? In this life on this planet. So I think it's so important, like to learn the lesson of how to grieve, you have to have some loss, right? Like all that stuff. And I think as we grow up, like when we're younger, there's a lot of hard lessons because you're maturing and you're growing and you're not thinking outside of your tunnel vision. Where once you get older, we get that other perspective. Like a lot of times, just for an example, once you've been cheated on, you would never cheat on somebody because you know how that feels, right? Like just for an example. So thinking about that and just being open to the fact that it is, learning along the way. It is going to change. We are going to conquer, but we are also going to get knocked down, and we can try again or go a different route. Or what did we learn? What does growth look like? All those other great things.
And see, I understand you're saying like it's great. So this isn't a statement to disagree. It's interesting because what Michelle said, you have this thing where if you've been hurt, and there's a difference if it happened as a childhood or older, right?
Yeah.
But there's some people that have experienced what Michelle said about somebody having an affair in a relationship, and or maybe they grew up and a parent of theirs had an affair, and they would say this, or you have a child that was abused, say, "I'll never abuse," and in the depths of they are because of the pain and trauma that they believe that. But so there's a percentage, and there's some different studies with this, that is their heart, but because it's undealt with trauma. And especially if you go back into our fathers, like me and Michelle being 60, so our fathers, my father's not alive, Michelle's not alive, are like 80s and even older. The role of a family is very different there, right? And so the mother actually raised the kids. The father worked and came home, and he didn't. And even previously, he didn't need to do anything. That wasn't no role. So the mother was, and I firmly believe in, and don't, like, this isn't to do with any of the kind of our identity going in the world today.
Right.
So wherever people are, so don't hear it with that lens, right? But there's something about maternal, paternal that we need, that can be healthy for kids. So there's studies that would say like abused kids that were physically abused. I'm not saying sexually, physically. Or here, I'll use better examples. A physical. I'm just looking at people's comments. Sorry. You have a dog. I have a friend that deals with, and my daughter's like caught up with dogs. She has a friend that helps abuse dogs. I can't remember what they're called, shelter dogs, right? Yeah. And this woman loves dogs, whatever, and she's dealing with dogs that shiver and freak out, like not shiver, but just are traumatized because of the abuse and neglect. So it takes love. It takes, allowing them to, and it takes a while to learn to trust you. So instead of, there's a saying, they'll say a guy comes home, pick on a guy, comes home, crappy day at work, comes home, he's grumpy, kicks the dog, tells the kids, stop making noise, tells the wife, where's my dinner, right? So I'm stereotyping, but kind of, we get it, right?
No, you're right.
That dog is used to be kicked. And now that dog's used to be kicked by a male. Like they understand, like even the different voice textures that, right? So to overcome that, it takes tilting the spectrum over that way. And I'm not talking about being wussy and these types of things. But what happens is, to affirm, this is what I love about my sister, by the way, to affirm people, Michelle being Michelle, all of us in this group being who we are, and we're all on a journey, right? But learning this sphere of influence we have, right? So the whole idea of adversity, if on the list here, Gwen's sharing stuff and lots of people sharing stuff, I love it. Thank you for sharing. If you're not sharing, we're not going to pay you to share, but hey, we want to hear your thoughts and ideas. Michelle may send out, you said before, you may have like a crayon or something to give people. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure. Frugal Michelle. Stickers. I'm a sticker girl.
Okay. Stickers. And I'll send you some crayons or something.
All right.
But we learn with the diversity of of who we are, and nationality, ages, and these things, experience, right? When we come to understand that we are able to, we're stronger than we think, even when we're in a despair. I've done some work with vets, which probably taught me some of the most stuff. I'm not a vet. I've not been to war, right? We don't understand what going to war is in our country.
Right.
Our uncles and great uncles and parents, we can't understand, right? So, and like what Michelle's saying too, the other thing I say too, and we know these stories, it's not every story, but you'll have kids, and again, I'm genderizing, this is from the past, they'll have young men that are in homes where the father's alcoholic and doesn't know how to deal with his stuff, right? And then the son hasn't been taught how to deal with his stuff. The mother's nurtured, but we need a combination of those. And it's not saying a mother can't do both. So please don't hear that, or whatever type of coupling or partnering. So it's got nothing to do with like that gender, but we need the soft care, and then we need like it's feminine, masculine, but it's not the sexual feminine. We need those that we can put
balance.
There we go. We need those that'll hold us accountable and those that'll encourage us.
Right.
And they flip back and forth, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think, again, realizing like, so whatever your influences were growing up, realizing, where it's come from. It's like when you're talking, it made me think of, kids that are bullies, they're taught to bully somewhere. Usually they're bullied at home. And then it's a cycle, right? So sometimes, this is a broad sometimes, but sometimes in reflection, that's where clarity lives. And then when you look back, that's really all you needed, was to take time to look and to think, wow, that's what, like, and it's time, right? Time is the key. So looking back after, sometimes it's after, like with me, I did a lot of self-reflection after my mom that adopted me died. It helped me come to peace with a lot of things, own some of my own stuff, and forgive her for some different things. So I feel better about my relationship with her than I did the last 10 years she was alive. Maybe, yeah, probably the last 10 years. And it was in that self-reflection. And it was me also accepting some different things that I didn't understand, as I don't know, or I didn't have the time to look, or like seeing her as a mom, trying to be a mom to me. And, she had lost her own baby. And that's how I ended up being like, just all those dynamics where it was like aha moments for me. I didn't do anything different. My shirt didn't change, the date didn't change, nothing changed. But in that moment, I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, that, yeah, I love that, Gwen. I can see the chat now. Some stuff you don't need to carry. It's so true. And in that moment, I let it go. I was just like, and then at the same time, in a weird way, I found some positives in there that were spillovers that actually didn't affect me, but affected some other people, which is like a big long story that I don't really need to share. But it was just in that moment. And so for me personally, it was very powerful because I realized I could let that go. And I do believe that everybody who's passed away is still with me in one, way or another. So I felt like we had made peace. It was just really, it was a profound moments,
And
actually.
I think it's making peace with ourselves. So I'm going to say something. Michelle, you make shirts and you sell them. Hashtag, you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So I'm pretty sure somebody in the world said it before, but I've been on this kick for this. I'm going, I've never heard anybody say it. I mean, so logical that it's silly, but profound, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing with that. So I'm going to, and we may revisit some of these things all over. Make the t-shirts, Michelle.
I'm gonna.
But we see. Here's the hard thing, right? We different personalities, but majority of us, we find comfort in what we know. What we know is safe. What we know is safe. if you remember, if you're a little bit older, if you remember in school, we used to do a thing called trust falls.
Oh, yeah.
And different personalities. So you'd stand there and the teacher say, okay, put your arms like this. Okay. Some would say, close your eyes or not. And you had to trust that the people behind you were going to catch you.
Right.
And it was such a great exercise. Problem is one of your silly friends were behind you, or a brother or somebody, probably mostly the guys, you don't trust them. I've seen people like in school, I've seen people let them drop like a horrible, but it was fun, right? I guess not,
Yeah.
right?
Today it would be on video. That's right.
But here's the thing: what adversity does. We don't go looking for adversity. There's enough of it around, right?
Oh, for sure.
What Michelle just said in this place of the way life hits us in the face, surprises, right?
Yeah.
What adversity does, it actually, in some ways, helps us to start exploring what we don't know. You know what I mean? We start where all we do. I was going to use for an example. I'll use one example. So I got type 2 diabetes, and I'm working on something. Great, but Michelle works with people with health, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, whatever, blah, 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 whatever, and all of a sudden you get a health scare. I remember my grandma Jean, my mom's mom, used to roll her own cigarettes forever and ever. And my grandma Jean's passed away. She ended up in the hospital and had an angina attack. She's been passed away for a long time, right? She has an angina attack, and she's smoked her whole life. Well, you can't smoke in the hospital.
Right.
And then they found scar tissue. She'd had tough old bird, had several, like multiple angina attacks. There's scars in her heart, right? And what they did there, say, well, here, and it was before like nicotine, all that. So they were like, here's some candies to suck on, hard candies, right? And after she came out in this time, she never smoked again. She had those hard candies. Mm-hmm. So that opportunity to shift, because smoking was her comfort. So forget how it does biologically in our body. Yep. Mentally. It's actually harder to quit mentally. You can actually work through detox, right? But so what I wrote, a couple things I wrote is, number one, you know what you don't know. You know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. So part of it, when we get older, we become, I think for the most part, less rigid. So some of the topics like Gwen and other people have shared, I think Ron had shared stuff in other chats. All of a sudden, we come into these experiences of life, and some things happen to us that aren't our choice. Like life happens, lunar eclipse, I don't know, whatever, right? And then we either can stick our head in the sand and go, I'm just going to ignore this, or it forces us to be willing, I guess is the best way, to look at other options that maybe we haven't considered. Michelle just said it about like with her mom, right? All of a sudden, you have this space with your mom, and even with your dad, which we've been talking about, all of a sudden I think last time we talked about if you can have lunch and talk with anybody who you would, you said your dad.
Yeah.
And now it is beautiful. Like it wasn't sad. Like it was just so special. I felt, right. Mm. And so all of a sudden we live in a world where so much is devalued, right? I wrote down this, speaking of value. So how do we measure ourselves? Nobody's looking. We're at home. And this is dealing with adversity. This is dealing like my paychecks don't cut it. This is dealing with my son, whatever, they won't be there. My younger granddaughter, not my youngest one, my 12-year-old granddaughter is cutting and stuff. Now, my daughter and I won't be in here. So, and this is a closed group, so it's safe. So I trust you guys, right? And understanding why people cut that. If you're not sure what that is, like, go look it up. There's lots of good information on it, right? And she doesn't know how to deal with the pain and the brokenness of separation and family and bullying and stuff, right? And so in this place within her, and it's not to demean what she's feeling, but she really has the power. Mm. Like we have this ability within us. We have the ability within us to some degree heal ourselves. So I'm not gonna say we all can, but we are so incredibly made. We have the ability to overcome, right? I just had a very good friend of mine. I play guitar. He's a bass player. Owned a pizza place, one of the best pizza places in Chilliwack. And
Okay.
him and his wife, very good friends of ours. He had a pacemaker and different things. We're getting older. He's like 80, right? A month ago, and he goes to church. He was coming home from church, him and his wife. He has a heart attack while he's driving, hits a pole. This is like noon on a Sunday. His vehicle flips 4 times.
Oh
She
my,
has a broken sternum and all that, and he already got health issues, and he dies.
oh,
Now it was close enough to where everything. So the paramedics, it was like a block and a half from the fire hall. Paramedics get there, they revive him,
mm,
and I know his family. I know 3 girls. I know this family intimately, and you go, oh, like what do? You feel helpless in a way, and sometimes when adversity affects us, we feel helpless. But how do you measure yourself? Do you have the strength? And if you have a bad day, don't get caught up in that. How do you measure yourself? Do you believe that you have within you or with those around you to encourage you? Do you believe you have the power to overcome adversity? If I'm not even saying a topic, but the things in our lives, if do you believe you have the people who encourage you and help you and support you? But even if you have that, if you don't believe in yourself, they can't carry you the whole way. It's not going to happen, right? But when I work with a lot with men working through addiction, through recovery homes and different things, right? And their shame and guilt were the worst things that was going on compared to the addiction. You can actually work through physical addictions. I'm not saying it's easy, but you can work through those actually, right?
right.
And they're still hard, but they're not as hard. It's almost 10 times harder to deal with this mental, which affects emotional mindset. I'm worthless. My father said I'm a piece of dirt. I'm and, and it takes a while until you get older when you go, no, that's not true. Michelle said we're not a victim, right?
Yep.
So in this idea of trying to work through minute of diversity, one of the things that I try to help people is looking in the mirror, right?
Mm,
Michelle, you'll like this. Look at your gas tank ourselves,
yep.
or our fridge. Look at what you have in the gas tank. Look at what you have in the fridge. We don't have it stocked like some people. Like I my fridge is actually fairly empty because I'm on my own, right? For midweeks now. But I used to like having lots of stuff there,
Mm,
and so I'm becoming more of a minimalist. But it's not about the volume, but are you worth it to look at yourself? Remember, measure yourself. Are you worth it to look at yourself and be honest and not judge yourself according to the world, but say, like, I'm important and I want to be whatever my next part of my life looks like, I want to be healthy.
yep.
I want to be healthy.
Yep.
And it's gonna take work, it's gonna take encouragement. You can't do it alone.
Yep.
Try.
Consistency. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. It's so true.
So
Yeah.
your turn. Tag.
No, I totally agree. And I think, I think self-reflection is just so important. And that's what helps create the confidence of
Yeah.
realizing, right? Like everybody seems to have crappier periods of time in their life, right? With me, it was 20s for sure. Um, so yeah, we have different times, but we've survived. And I think we need to value that we've survived. I think gratitudes are a great thing. When you mentioned about self-healing, for anybody who's into that, check out Joe Dispenza. He's got a great book on healing through meditation. Not saying you can heal everything. I'm just saying if you're into that, something to look into. But I think, yeah, just realizing like you've made it through everything up to this point, every
Yeah.
relationship, every job, every car accident, every ticket, every, whatever that life looks like for you. And just, realizing you're gonna get up again another day. And it always my favorite saying when people are going through struggles, this too shall pass. There's gonna come a
Yeah.
time it's gonna be a memory.
Yeah. And we've touched this before. So we've talked before about fear, and we're going to revisit a whole bunch of these, just being
Absolutely.
honest, because where all of these kind of, me and Michelle laugh, they meander within each other. Like you can't talk about one that doesn't have 17 threads to something else, right? And when we live with fear and anxiety, like, but what if like, again, using a dog, so I don't want to go into human example, but you have a dog, I know they don't think like us, in case people are wondering, but you have a dog that, is used to the door opening and being kicked, it takes patience and time and trust for that dog to feel safe again. And working through, it's an animal shelter recovery home that my daughter's friend works at. And my daughter she has her own big dog and a cat, but she babysits dogs. She drives me nuts, right? But she loves dogs, and her dogs are therapy dogs.
Yeah.
They are, right?
Yep.
So part of it is, we understand we're on a journey. We live in a culture. I work in the food industry most of my life, chef, restaurants, stuff like that. And it's interesting in our culture, 40 years ago, go look at those things like, do you remember 1961, 1971 of that, right? Fast food restaurants haven't been here forever. So here's the migration of, it used to be go sit down with your family, instead of people come sit down at a family restaurant and have a meal together. An hour, half an hour. Now they want to move you up because they need more people, whatever, right? Then they made fast food, drive-through. Then now, if everybody knows this, now what you laugh at, and think of this, like just use some wisdom psychologically, now they have 2 fast food lines, but still goes to 1.
Yeah.
So in a way, so here's the thing. We think, well, got 2 lines, this is great. It's actually not for you. It's actually so they can get the information quicker to them. So, because you're still going to wait if you're behind the car, one or 2, right? So in it, some of the notes that I made is, like, again, look at your gas tank, and it's okay to say, like if I go, I feel like I'm really great today and stuff. My life's been crazy. I've had issues with my health, with my gut from the ostomy and stuff. Just challenges, right? I'm at a place now where I recognize it. I can take a breath, close my eyes. Michelle said this too will pass. I can recenter is what I called it. I can find peace and rest, right? But here's the thing, right? Learning to cope. Coping is a temporary thing. It's like it can be helpful for a period of time, but it's like a sugar rush, right? It doesn't do anything, but it gets you kind of jacked, right? It kind of gets you through the moment, I guess. But you look at how we medicate or avoid, and we're talking mental wellness, right? And physical too, right? But we know the experience we had as kids. Michelle mentioned, I keep saying Michelle mentioned, we've talked about as a kid, you didn't leave the table back in the day until you finished everything.
Yeah, that's right. I ate those stupid green beans.
Yeah. And so people on here, if you want to put into the chat, like these childhood memories, like, you don't stay outside after dark. You play on a little rural road, and like all these things that, like for us that are older, we don't know. I wasn't made to eat everything on the plate. That wasn't my experience, right? And it's not that we are rich, because we weren't, right? But I try to remember those things, because those things mold us to some degree. They don't have to totally mold us, but so one of the things I've told in the last little while, I've got a couple of people who did this. One is a 70-year-old man who's working through, he's retired, lost most of his family because of decisions that he made. And like his family came second, work came first, right? Yeah. And he's wrestling, he self-hates, self-beats, right? So I said, here's something to think about. And I don't know if you've done this, Michelle. So one of the things that I'll try to help people, and it's to do with energy, like the way our body has energy. Yep. Scream therapy. Oh,
yeah.
Laughing on. So this guy tells me, he's in Vancouver. I've never seen him face to face. We talk every 2 weeks. Talking for about 7 months. And so he goes, Tom, and he sounds like an old Brit dude. So it's hilarious, right? He goes, Tom, you'll never guess what happened. I said, what? This is about a month ago. He goes, I went to a place outside of the city. I found an old dirt road forest. Like, if you've been to Vancouver, like, you gotta get out of the city, right? And he got out, and he said, my first feeling was, he goes, I was embarrassed because, and nobody was there. So why am I embarrassed? It's
Right.
like people pray to the dark, or like we have these, I don't know, these weird things or whatever it is, right? And so he started screaming, and then he started screaming louder.
Oh.
Then he started crying
Oh,
and
good.
crying, and then he started screaming. And what that was, because sometimes we don't have words for our trauma and our pain at this moment.
Yeah.
Working with people, working through meditation, especially with hate and anger, or trauma induced by abuse and
Right.
those things, narcissistic kind. So,
Yeah.
and it's interesting, kids, like when you have a younger child, like my issue was, and I've shared this a few times. I can stop saying that. If I say it one more time, I owe everybody a dime or something like that.
$1.
Fine. We're gonna be, yeah, a dollar or a penny. We don't have pennies anymore. I was the oldest of seven, and me and Michelle are sisters. I'm a brother sister. Sorry,
Brother, I'll be the
and
sister.
and my mom went through whatever. Our mom went through whatever. Michelle and our younger brother had different fathers, but we're all family, and I know as siblings how much we love each other, right? But as the oldest, I felt so much pain that I couldn't take care of my family and my mom. And it's not just oldest children, but and I wouldn't have had the words to deal with it back then. But I felt like it was my fault, and I disappointed. And people feel over 10 years now, I deal with people that lose their children to overdose or suicide.
Yeah.
And the pain of the parent is finding reasons to blame themselves is painful and hard. But we have to get past that and say, whatever responsibility or not, we got to leave that alone and say, okay, what am I going to do now?
Mm.
What am I going to do now? Right? Um, if you were like, I have some guys deal with that were driven by money, real estate agents, different things, right? And and they've lost their family, and they were dicks. They
Right.
wanted a fancy car. They didn't care. They wanted the prestige and power. And I said, you can't change that you were a dink before. You can't change it. You were.
Yeah,
When I freaked out,
absolutely.
but do you really want today to don't change so you can get your family back and your kids will talk to you?
Right.
Change to be healthy for you.
Right.
And it's not, it doesn't be all deep. Like we talk about deep. It doesn't, we don't have, like, some people are pretty balanced, and it's not about that. Some people are just learning to get towards retirement. But if you don't find that value in yourself and you live in this place of avoiding,
Yeah.
it's not going to change.
Well, that's right. And how do you value yourself? Like that example, obviously they felt their worth was tied to their position at work, their dollar value, and a lot of that again comes with limiting beliefs that we're raised with, right? Instead of, one of the ways that I value myself is integrity is very important. What I'm doing when nobody's watching, that is very, very important to me. And nobody else might know, but I know, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's unfortunate. It really ties in with that era 30 or 40 years ago, which actually also ties in with people not going to college and university because there's no job at the other end, or, they don't have any passion. Like I didn't encourage any of my kids to go to college or university because none of them had something that resonated with them, right? The boys weren't interested anyways. But with Nicole, she was sort of on the fence. And I was like, yeah, why don't you take a few years to just figure out exactly? And she just graduated. So she ended up going back at 28. She just graduated this month, I guess. She did, or April. Sure, her official graduation's in June. But you see all these kids get in debt, party, so make a lot of bad decisions, that sort of thing, and then don't even fulfill it. Where I think this day and age, I mean, get a trade. Go, like, there's a lot of other options that aren't continuing your education or waiting. I mean, when I went to college, I'm going to say 30 or pretty close to that. And I know me, if I would have gone to college right out of, if I wouldn't have been pregnant in high school and I would have gone to college instead, I know I would have been the partier. I probably wouldn't have finished. I would have picked a program just to go to college, not because my heart was in it. So I believe everything happens the way it's meant to, and it worked out really well. But when I did go, I wasn't interested in that younger dimension, right? Or demographic. I was serious. I was also paying for it. So I
Yeah.
had my financial head, right? I had 3 kids at home. So that, everything is just so interconnected, and all these decisions we're making and how we value ourselves is so tied up in it. It's very important that we're looking all the time, being our own research and development.
And there's people that love change and whatever. I'm in sales and that, and I'm not allowed. I'm not like a terrible sale. I care about my customer and I care about my company, right? And I don't like do anything super weird, right? Um, and you want to find your passion, and here's one language I started using a couple of years ago after I overcame this like horrid depression, right? Starting to get my breath back, and this may not be for everybody, but it's legacy language. So
Mm,
legacy is not inheritance language, and there's nothing wrong if you have money or if you paycheck to paycheck. Nothing wrong with that. In this group, there's probably both of us, right? And it's not about that. And if you have been able to work your way up to be successful, being successful isn't bad. It could be bad. It can be a distraction, but poverty, people working through the spirit of poverty, this idea, and it's not about being financially poor. Like I think Michelle's very rich, but she has, she could tell your story another time, or I'll interview you, but she's in her journey from say 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. She works and supports her family who she loves.
mm,
She doesn't blame. She's probably had to work through some stuff. So I'm not counseling her right now.
no, no.
But this idea of legacy, for those of us in the group that are grandparents,
Right.
all of a sudden, not that we don't like our kids, right? All of a sudden, what we end up doing is we end up like all of a sudden our grandkids become kind of in a way the center of our lives, and it's not about stuff. I don't think it could be. I spoil my kids and trying to be better at that. But this place of influence, but that's our legacy. If you look at, we'll put this in the chat. I'll put this in the chat later for this week. Who would you say, can be more than one, would you say you've read, you've met, you've seen? It could be a movie here, like a movie, not the actor, but a role in a movie like Braveheart or something like that. Who has influenced you? Who has you, or it could be a movie, doesn't be a person. Well, what's something you go, man, like that influenced me? Michelle mentioned her dad, like, and just as I would long to be that, right?
Yeah.
People, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, who was the fellow from Africa? Nelson Mandela,
And,
right? Yeah. Martin Luther King, right? And it's fine. You find some, and some people like they're good people, they're kind, and they may go, I was really influenced by Bill Gates.
right.
Not saying anybody would, maybe somebody would, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
it depends on your makeup. But there's something about when you think about something or somebody that's influenced you in that, like just think about it, and then like process a bit and go like, so why did,
Mm,
I was going to be silly, why did Donald Trump, sorry, that was a bit of a joke, and if you like Donald Trump, I'm apologizing. I like Donald Trump, but he's just crazy. But why did Martin? What is it about Martin Luther King that inspires you, right?
right.
And it could be his activism for rights.
Right.
It
Absolutely.
could be who's Sandra Ride is the first woman who went into space,
Okay.
right? Whoever she is. My son likes space and all that. So
Okay.
there's women I know that are inspired by that, and they want to go into science. So that's what it's about, right? So part of like working through adversity, and then adversity is adversary. So think about that. Sometimes we're our worst adversary,
Yep, absolutely.
but working through adversity, it's not like it doesn't happen overnight, but it begin with going, okay, I want like, I'm not even talking about goal setting. I want, like, my heart is, I want at this part of my life, I want to make the important things important. I don't want to be caught up. Like, I don't want at the end of my life and look back and go, I wish I would have.
That's right.
So within your means,
Yeah,
you buy lottery tickets, you want to win the lottery, and you want to, like Michelle said, she would take care of me. So I love that. Nothing against lottery tickets, but in the scope of things, with what you got right now, with your health and whatever you have finances, whatever you have for family, friends, and that, with what you have right now, um, what do you do with that that doesn't suck the life out of you, but gives you life?
that's right. Absolutely. And if I can add to that, nothing lasts forever. So when you're talking about, valuing yourself, job, dollar value, that sort of thing, people get these jobs, and I'm a prime example. We had great jobs, the best money I ever made in my life. The bank repoed the place. What do you do, right? It was a big kick to the face. We survived. We are survivors, not victims. But you just don't know. So it's interesting when you're investing all your time into building up these things that you ultimately don't have control of, and you're squandering relationships, other things. I think it's interesting. Grandchildren are way better than kids, full stop.
Did you go home?
Yeah, right, because they go home. That's right. And I think to myself, and I don't know if you ever do, like, if I died tomorrow, how will I be remembered? Like, that is really important to me. And I know, well, my grandchildren all know what I do because they hear me and they mimic me, which I think is awesome. Um, but they're not looking at me saying, Nana, the wellness coach, Nana that books hotel rooms, Nana that tie dyes. They're looking at me and I'm Nana, like, that eats cookies with them. I'm that, you know
Before
what I mean?
before we go, tell the story about Gemma that you told me.
Which one? Which one?
The one that you walked in and she was was she booking rooms for her friends on a phone?
She's so funny. So I work for WW, but I also work for the Marriott, and I book hotel rooms right over there on the computer. So Gemma likes to put the headset on. She's so funny. Oh my gosh, she's sick. She's Nicole's daughter, for those of you that know me. And she goes over there and she books hotel rooms. And then I don't know if you can see these. This is her. She asks me a name. So her name was Gemma Kelly that day, and she was 18, and she booked me in room 82. She's she's so funny and polite, and she gets my jobs confused. So she'll be booking a hotel room, telling somebody to eat bananas, and she's just so hilarious. And Alice, same thing. They can hear me when I coach through Zoom when they're at my son's upstairs. And the one day, I don't know if I told you this, Tom, but the one day she can hear me and she knew when I was done on my meeting, we're going to go to the butcher and get some meat. So I said, Alice, it's time. Let's go get some meat. And so I'm driving. She's in the back seat. We go to Davy Jones. It's the butcher. We get whatever. And then we're not the pirate. And then we're leaving. And she says, Nana, if I had $10, do you think it would be a good idea if I spent half of it on candy and half of it on fresh fruit that I like? Like, I just my heart grew that day.
the
Wow.
the reason I had Michelle share it, and I'm going to share one little story that Michelle will have a quote for the end because that's what she
I
does.
do. It's ready.
And so and so when Michelle told me the story about Gemma, Michelle wasn't training Gemma.
No.
Remember what I said? Our circle of influence sometimes is the people you least expect, and please don't be guilted by this, because our influence can be good and bad influence, right? So if we're high stress and do whatever, and we need a season to work through that, or traumatized and all those things, always mental health stuff, right? But here's the thing: so we're on a journey, right? But I'm going to tell you, there's people that have journeyed with you, maybe through sickness or whatever, but this is a whole celebration of life language, right? But people will remember the good about you, and we sometimes aren't very good at remembering the good about us. I'm going to leave you with a movie. It's not homework, but I'd love this isn't a book club group or a movie group, but hey, I like movies. Movies inspire me. There's an old movie, Bill Murray, called What About Bob? If you haven't seen it, Google, YouTube, What About Bob, Bill Murray. Bill Murray's a great actor anyways. It's hilarious. Yeah. And so Bill Murray is a hypochondriac that is, he's nuts, and he's awesome. Like the character plays great. And Richard Dreyfuss is a psychologist. So somehow he gets going to Richard Dreyfuss, and he calls him, then he bugs him, and then he calls him, then he bugs him, and then now it's like so Richard Dreyfuss and his family are going on holidays. So Bill Murray is such like obsessive. He lies on the phone, says, "Oh well, like I'm this and that. I need his number. Where is he?" And so he finds it. So he finds it where he is. It's hilarious. But one of the things that happens in it, I'm ruining the movie, but you still got to watch it because I'm not doing a good job. In the mid of the movie, Richard Dreyfuss going crazy. It's like I said, I'm gonna watch it now because it's so funny. He gives Bill Murray a note. Now he's his psychologist, right? He goes, "Here's a note. Take a vacation from your problems." You see my loss?
Yeah.
So sometimes we know our problems will always be there, or hopefully they won't. But we can be so entrenched and smothered and choked out. Yeah. So like I tell people that are having bad anxiety, recenter. Okay, slow down, close your eyes. If you're driving, pull over and just close your eyes, your hand on your chest, and just feel your breath, this breath that goes into your body, that goes into your blood and your oxygen, and it brings life to parts of your body. Don't think about dealing with work or the rude person who's trying to book a hotel, or your sick uncle, or and not that those go away, but recentering is really important. And people have different things that they do, because if we don't, this world will overwhelm us.
Yeah.
World will suck. I don't think it's made this way. We'll miss the beauty of life. If you live in the city, people live in the city. My sister still here, so she can hear this. I love seeing my pictures of my one sister, Michelle too. I love seeing my grandkids now. My one sister who's worked really hard. I used to love seeing her on her motorcycle. She's not much motorcycle anymore. And it was just like the wind in her hair and this kind of freedom. And she works hard in the company she works with, right? And then now she gets to go outside, seeing her kids and grandkids. Her and her husband get to go on a boat on the lakes. And I'm not a boat person, but I see this with them. And I saw a picture a while. I see her feet over like the edge of the boat, and then the water. I don't have to see her. I know it's her relaxed place.
That's right.
It's this Zen or whatever you want to call it, right? So my encouragement is find that today. Find space that you can, like, what about Bob? Take a vacation from stress and pressures of the world. We have time to deal with them. Take time for yourself. As Michelle would say, love yourself, be nice to yourself. Exactly. And what's your quote you're going to throw at us?
Success is 99% failure.
I was going to be a smart ass, but I won't. I know the saying.
Smart ass and a dumbass.
There you go.
But it's true, right? When you think of everything you succeeded in, You failed at something first. Nothing was invented on the first try. Nothing.
So I'm gonna, yeah, and I'm so weird. I think who was the first person to call a catapult a catapult?
That too.
I lose sleep, right? I'm gonna throw another quote. I don't know who it is, another saying, right? A smart man, it's might be Confucian, so like Confucius or whatever, right?
Like you said.
A smart man learns from his own mistakes.
Yep.
Smarter man learns from other mistakes.
There you go. Yep. Absolutely. That's why we're better
Great.
together. Right?
That's right. That's why in this group, if we learn from each other
Yep.
when we have difficulties and struggles and trials,
Yep.
we're there in some way to help support each other. So
Exactly.
anyway, we've taken 26 minutes and 37 seconds, no, 26 minutes of your time over. It's not about time for me and Michelle. We don't care. Like honestly, you can stop following, you can stop watching if you're busy, right? We're not gonna cry.
Yeah.
But we love this stuff and we care about you guys.
And we missed a week. We're catching up. We're Jones
Yeah,
and
we owe you another half an hour.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Exactly. Can I add one more thing about so Alice, right? So she hears me. Now she's so smart, splitting her money. Here's another time she heard me. So I'm in the kitchen and I am human. I'm amazing, but I am also human. And I'm in the kitchen and she looks at me. And sometimes I get really tired. My energy fluctuates. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying we're not always in the mood. So I don't know. I must have been whatever. So she looks at me and she goes, Nana, do you ever? And I think it was frustrated was the word. So she's 9. So she says, Nana, do you ever get frustrated with me? And I looked at her and I go, no, I don't think so. And she goes, you look pretty frustrated right now. Busted. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe I am a little bit. Thanks for letting me know. Now go upstairs.
That's what's great about children.
Yeah, honest.
And so with it, like the stories, the power of story. This is again why we do this. We share stories, and everybody has stories, right? There's so much power in stories. There's power in history, even the hard parts. Like humans, that includes us, through civilization,
Yeah,
as all the goodness in us, incredible goodness. We have been brutal to each other.
absolutely true.
We have been conquering each other
Yeah,
all the time for whatever reasons. I don't know. I'm not like I might have some thought, but I don't know, right? But right now, be good to yourself.
yep.
Be good to your family, your neighbor, your dog, your cats, your TV. Don't throw anything at the TV if your team's losing. My team's not playing, so I'm good. Um, and have a great evening for those out east. It's like 8:30, 9:30. We're at 5:30, so we got some sun outside, as you can see.
Nice.
Um,
It's gone
and
down.
we'll talk to you guys next week.
We're going to do it all again next week. That's right. And don't forget how awesome, capable, and amazing you are. We're thrilled to have you with us. We'll see you next week. Share in the chat. If you're following on YouTube, subscribe and like. And it's a great way to catch up if you missed some weeks. So super happy you're with us every week. We will see you next time. Peace out.